Put everything on a piece of paper.
So are the effects of lust on creativity scientifically significant? Painter and art instructor Dave LeBeau will judge the quality of the sketches to see if, as a whole, one group was noticeably more creative than the other.
So we lined them up where one row is drawings by people who interacted with a muse, and another row is by men who did not have a muse, who just waited in a room by themselves. Now, do you think you would be able to tell which row was the muse row?
For sure, I would say this top row has a much more, in all, this complete row here has much more energy. They're all much more expressive than this bottom row, for sure. Look at the agitation.
And that agitation came from the group that hung out with Kate.
Our ancestors are the men that did become more creative around women, whereas those ones who didn't are no longer our ancestors.
Lust makes men do whatever it takes to get noticed by women, whether it's by showing off their creativity or by simply showing off. But lust doesn't just control our outward behavior. There's a lot going on inside our bodies. Dr. Alessandra Relini from the University of Vermont is studying the biology of sexual desire. Her scientific protocol doesn't involve x-rays or drawing blood. Instead, she shows her patients dirty movies.
You're going to be watching two videos. One is going to be a video of Russian culture, and then one of explicit sexual pictures. There is a heterosexual couple engaging in sexual behavior. Throughout the entire time of the videos are on, you move this to indicate how sexually aroused you feel. If at any
Alessandra keeps careful track of how sexually aroused her subjects think they are, and compares that data with how their bodies react physically. To do that, she attaches sensors to measure vital signs like heart rate and blood pressure.
And then there is the vaginal photoplethysmograph. This is something that you insert in your vagina on your own.
I've never done anything like this. You know you're doing it for science, so it's all positive. But I don't know.
This is a device that it's one of the most commonly utilized devices to measure blood flow into the genitals. Now, the capillary bed in the vaginal walls become engorged with blood during sexual arousal. So we have an indirect measure of blood flow by looking at how much light is being reflected back. So with this, we get to see what your body does. And here, you tell us what your mind does.
Okay. Thank you.
So I assume you have your feet up and you're sitting relaxed on your chair?
Yeah, I'm all set.
The first 3 minutes of the video the subject watches is a 1990s promotional film from the Russian Tourist Board. Its erotic content is non-existent.
It's working just fine, and she's down to baseline.
Then the video switches from Soviet propaganda to pornography. Immediately, the woman's heart rate accelerates, her body temperature rises, and the photoplethysmograph records increased blood flow to her genitals. Her vital signs say she's getting turned on, but her mind is having none of it. In fact, she's actually moving the dial lower. She feels she's getting turned off. It's a pattern Alessandra sees in most of the women she studies.
For some women, what they're telling me, nope, this video is really not doing anything for me, it's not sexually arousing, we see actually their bodies responding a great deal. If you now want to follow me in the room.
For male subjects, Alessandra uses a device similar to the plethysmograph to measure the change in blood flow to the penis. And once again tracks the relationship between bodily responses and mental arousal.
This was the heart rate. When you take a man and you show the man an erotic video, and then you ask them how much sexual arousal did you experience during the video, their subjective response of how aroused they were, it's going to be highly correlated with what you see physiologically.
You could definitely tell the difference from watching a video of a countryside and a road rather than pornography.
Men get aroused quickly, and they don't seem to have much of a mental filter when it comes to lust.
One of the important differences between men and women and lust is that for men it's easier to become lustful. For women, it takes a little bit more time. Evolutionarily, women have had to be more careful because making a poor choice for a woman might leave you pregnant and without a potential husband.
Men are wired for lust. Their bodies and brains react in perfect synchrony when they see something sexy. So what is the biochemical source of lust? Amsterdam, a city where lust stares back from every window front and sexual arousal is a taxable business. Dr. Leander van der Meij of Vrij University in Amsterdam is a testosterone detective. He's trying to detect the first stirrings of lust by looking at changes in testosterone in men's bodies.
What we're hoping to find out with this experiment is that testosterone is actually related with flirting and courtship.
Even though he has a red light district on his doorstep, Leander prefers to work in a basement laboratory. His test subjects are all heterosexual men. Before the experiment begins, he asks them to give a saliva sample to get a baseline testosterone level. Next, Leander plants a young woman called the female stimulus person in another basement room. The men don't realize she's part of the experiment. Leander gives them both a Sudoku puzzle, then pretends to have brought the wrong ones and leaves the two alone.
Hey, ik ben Marleen.
Je hebt ook een puzzel gemaakt? Jochem.
Hey, ja, ik was nog bezig.
Well, we instructed the female stimulus persons to engage in a natural conversation if possible. So what usually happens is that they start chatting, they start probing a bit, like what are you doing here? And what I think what we did is actually captured the first glimpse of courtship.
Wat doe je?
Ik doe de Social Psychology Research Master.
Oké.
Ja, net begonnen.
Net begonnen? Oké.
Eerste week.
Leander then returns to the room, gives the man his new puzzle, and leaves with the woman.
Doei.
And after 15 minutes, we provide them with another saliva tube, and they provide another saliva sample.
The saliva samples are analyzed for testosterone, while Leander also has the men fill out a questionnaire.
So after the saliva sample, we just ask them, so how attractive did you find the stimulus person?
Some subjects described the woman as attractive. Others said, nah, she's not my type. But when Leander analyzes the men's saliva, he finds testosterone rises for all of them, no matter how they rated her. Even when a man doesn't think he's interested in a woman, testosterone is preparing his body for mating anyway.
And we think that with testosterone, it's more like an automatic reaction. I think what happens is testosterone feeds back again on the brain, and it actually prepares the human body for courtship.
Wel een leuk groep mensen. Heel diffuus.
And as testosterone rises, the men's behavior subtly changes.
Een heel mooi kasteel hadden ze gebruikt. En iedereen bak natuurlijk en zo. En kan
Their shoulders were perhaps a bit more upright, an open body posture.
Nee, nog niet.
Smiling and perhaps a bit more, making eye contact.
Okay.
En mensen. Ja.
And we think that all these behaviors are actually moderated by hormones.
A lot of the findings related to lust have been linked to the hormone testosterone, where for men, for instance, merely being in the presence of an attractive woman tends to bump up their testosterone, which leads them to want to show off in all sorts of different ways. You can think of testosterone as like being a gas pedal in the body, where once testosterone is being ramped up, it's like pressing the gas button and showing off and wanting to attract as much as you can.
Leander's experiments with male testosterone appear to confirm what many women already know. Men are often governed by parts of their bodies south of their skulls. It's a biological impulse that helps keep 24-hour news channels in business. But is there any way for men to put on the brakes? Dr. Anna Rose Childress at the University of Pennsylvania has been looking at men's brains when they are looking at sex.
We're hardwired for pleasure, but it looks like our brain has developed in a little different way for men and women with regard to their response to sexual cues. The brain response for men is it's just hands down stronger.
Anna Rose is picking apart the mental steps on the way